are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our bodies. Hello, ladies. Welcome to Homemakers Radio. I'm sure I look pretty silly in this get-up, and I'm anxious to tell you all about it. And today I would like to do more talking so that you can get something done, and tell you the purpose also of wearing this headgear that I have on. I want to make sure that my volume is doing well. Some people have mentioned they can't hear me. Now, before you go to do your homemaking and listen, I have a teacup to show you. I got it at Home Goods. Now, Home Goods is the place to go for really nice looking teacups that look like the antiques, but they're better. This has these cute cutouts in it, and it's by Meritage, and they're only $6.99. So today one of your refinement assignments will be to go and get yourself one of these. Get yourself a very pleasant teacup. And I love this one. It has wild roses on them. Isn't that pretty? Look at the inside. And it's a deeper cup, but I really like it. And I'm looking forward to the ladies class coming over on Thursday to they get to drink out of the new cup. If ever I get one, that's what I do. And so I like it so much. I think I just want to stay here and talk about it for an hour. It's so pretty. I just love it. And they have such a good selection there, and not very many people are interested in teacups, so you will have your pick. And I did buy one other one, and thanks to some of you who are so generous, I was able to buy the two. So today I would like to talk about, I do want to talk about my hat, but we first want to start with appearance, and that is so important to take care of your appearance first. Now, in a few minutes when I get finished talking to you, I am going out to the grocery store. I have to get some things very urgently, and I'm going to wear this. And if anyone gives me any trouble about a face mask, I'm just going to pull this down. And now they are saying face covering required. So there are about 3 layers I can pull down, and I showed you how to make one of these. It's a lot of trouble. You could just put a scarf over something and cover yourself. And when someone says something about it, you could say, or when they ask you a question about it, you could say, could you tell me, and yesterday I did go out and people asked me about it. Would you mind telling me about, your hat? What are you doing? And I said, well, I've just come from having tea. And I've come from my own home where I had a cup of tea. Or I've just come from having a tea party. Or I've just been to a Victorian reenactment, which of course is my whole life in my home. I live in this home that has a lot of Victorian things in it, and I'm interested in some of the Victorian things. Now, I have explained to you before, all eras of society in all different times have, and all different ages throughout history, they have their good people and their bad people. There were a lot of bad Victorians, and I have explained that, some of them, Charles Darwin and Sigmund Freud and some of these people, and Margaret Sanger and they were actually loud and famous, but there were a lot of good Victorians too, and some of them were my relatives, and every one of you has a Victorian great-grandmother or a Victorian great-great-grandmother. You can't get out of it. But one of the things that I am looking forward to do is going out in this hat, and I wanted to tell you that it's easier. Now, these hats here come from Dollar Tree. They're only $1, and that's the one I had on, was only $1. And it would just be easier to get a scarf at the Dollar Tree like this and wrap it around the hat, and then if someone presses you to cover your face, all you have to do is pull this down if you leave yourself enough room, or don't do it. I'm coming to the point where basically I can't wear masks. They make me very ill. And I can't even sleep with a sheet or anything covering my face. I cannot cover my face. And even the veil absolutely is putting the limit on me. So I'm coming to the point where I am not going to be wearing even the veil. And so But I wanted to tell you, some of you that are really not ready to be too radical, you could wear the Victorian hat, because basically the Victorian hat is scary to some people. And I noticed yesterday when I was out that people were giving me wide berth, and they were rather embarrassed at my get-up. And I think it's because so many people have been prejudiced by some of the horror movies and the Victorian haunted house idea, and the ghosts and things like that, that they look at someone wearing these kind of clothes and think, oh my goodness, this is a repressive era, a repressive person. And I've read to you out of Linda Lichter's book, Simple Social Graces or Benevolence of Manners, in which she talks about how there's been so much prejudice sown against the Victorian era that not one person today can think of the Victorian era without thinking of the haunted house, because all those beautiful houses were relegated to being used for haunted houses. So we don't even recognize the beautiful Victorian architecture in them. And so when you walk around in a costume like I do, and yesterday I did not wear a costume, I just wore this suit, and it's just a blue suit, and just has a skirt and a jacket with it. And but the hat caused a great deal of attention, but no one wanted to talk about it. They didn't want to get near me. They didn't want to. And I had the cards with me that I showed you in my last video, and no one would take one. And I mean, I didn't want to force it on them, and I'm glad they didn't take them. It's just a lot of trouble, and it is very stressful to try to teach someone. They didn't want anything to do with it. They did not want to know the alternative. They did not want to know why I couldn't wear a mask either, so I didn't even bother to explain it to them. But I think the best thing to do with the idea of freedom is to exercise it. If you want to go to church, you go to church. If you want to dress normally, dress normally. But when you start to kowtow to every little suggestion, and by the way, I told you last time that there is no law passed. There's still no law passed about masks. There's no law passed about being confined to your home. There is no law passed about standing on the yellow lines and the X's and stuff. There's no law. Absolutely no law passed. This is just a global push to see how far they can go with the Marxism and communism. And I hate to start out with such a dreary way of talking, because I want you to be happy, and I'm happy. I'm not worried about any of this because I know what they're up to, and I think knowledge helps. So I will include a wonderful video that just came up today by Peggy Hall, who talks about singing in church and how you have to exercise your faith, because they're trying to get us not to sing. But anyway, she's so funny about it. And so this one congregation I know said, okay, well, the state doesn't want us to sing in church. Well, we won't. We'll sing outside. So they just went out into their parking lot and sang louder, and all the neighbors heard them, and cars were stopping to listen. So really, the state just shoots themselves in the foot in America, because Americans figure out how to go around it and make it better than it was before. For example, and you can do this in homemaking too, and I'll explain it. And for example, the fireworks. There was some kind of ban on fireworks, but it wasn't a law, and it was mainly a recommendation. But it was also said that the city was not going to do their fireworks that year. And every year, the little towns wait for the city, which has taken tax money to buy all these fireworks that are more than a person could afford, that are just beautiful. But you have to go to a place where they're being shown, and you have to sit in your car or on a riverbank or something and watch them. And it takes a long time between one and another, and it's usually free. But then to get home, everybody's on the road at the same time, and you could be 2 miles away. It'll still take you 2 hours to get home. So a lot of people would stay home and try to see them in the distance. But this time was so interesting because they were banned, and the city didn't do it. So every person who had a yard, front or backyard, just got a few fireworks, and the place was just lit up all around me. Whereas it used to be, when the city did it, you just see it over there. but just, and you'd really have to look, and it'd be one after another with space in between. This was just a continuous light. It was so beautiful. I think it will become a tradition, and I don't think we need the city's fireworks anymore. So we find ways, just like, singing outside. And another thing you could do is the church could just go outside and walk down the sidewalk and do their song service right down the sidewalk in front of homes. So, and we had a parade, but we, quote, weren't allowed to go and attend it because people would be too close together. So what the parade did was they just paraded up and down the streets of the neighborhoods and let all the neighbors see. People were out on their front porches watching, and that's a new tradition that I'd love to see happen. I mean, it's interesting. Necessity is the mother of invention, they say. That's a great invention. There are so many good things that just make you laugh with how we overcome so many things. Now, years ago, we were having some work done on a house we lived in, and the walls were being painted and some new carpet being put in on one side, and we didn't want our little boy to go over a certain line in the room, but he saw something he wanted over there. It was one of his toys. We just didn't want him to get in the paint and everything, so we said, here's a line here where the carpet's rolled up, don't go beyond that, don't get over in this section. But it was really interesting, and he was only 2, but he figured out that he didn't have to even cross that line. He didn't have to touch that line. He just went in another room, came out a door, climbed on the couch, got his toy, got out, and went around the other way. So even though he was in the area, kind of close to where everything was, he got what he wanted, he got out, and he didn't even cross the line. And this is, I think, the way American is. American, I always say. So today, I would like to talk a little bit about getting dressed up, because it's so important that, and I don't have anything else to show you, so you may go. And it's so important to, and by the way, talking of appearance, several people have asked me about my my makeup, but I have a terrible broken out face, and I suffer terribly from what I think is rosacea. It's never been analyzed, and it could be something else. But one day I decided I just didn't want to bother with covering it, and so I just said, no, I'm not going to. And Mr. S wanted to go somewhere, wanted to go to Walmart, and so I went to Walmart, and he was walking quite a ways away from me, and I said, is everything okay? And he says, did you forget to cover your face today? Did you forget to use your makeup? Are you out of, no, he said, are you out of makeup? Because I'll buy you some if you need it. And I said, why? What's the matter? And he said, well, you look like somebody might have beat you up. And he said, you look like maybe someone who's been crying and your face is all broken out and everything. And I don't want anyone to think that I've abused you. So after that, I never went out with him without covering all my red face and spots and everything. So, but I'm not ready to show you how I do it. I'm quite aged. I have a lot of lines and wrinkles, and I just really don't want to do that, where you do one side and then the other side is all messed up. I'm not ready to do that. But I can email you if you want to know more about it. And one thing I have been doing is watching a few videos of women who are over 60 or 70, and all the things that you can change, and things that you can't do with your skin, because your skin changes quite a bit. But the important thing is to make yourself presentable for the Lord, for the world, for your family, and even getting ready and having a good appearance. Now, I'm having a bad hair day, as you can tell. My hair is flyaway today, and I washed it yesterday, so can't do anything with it. And I think that's why the Victorians like the hats so much. They never had a bad hair day. They just had a hat on it. And you could always change your hats, and the hats never got, messed. Didn't have to comb and brush the hats. And so today, I think that the appearance braces you and balances you in the possible daunting confusion of your home. And as you know, I have lost my momentum because I had a great deal of company. My house was packed with 17 or 18 people, And, it's funny, I lose count sometimes. And I lost my momentum, and all I was doing was the very urgent work, keeping the tables cleared, keeping the food out, keeping the food ready, making sure the bathroom was clean and that the towels were clean, and that there were enough towels in there, and checking all the things that you would if you were running a hotel, and not doing any more deep cleaning or catching up with things. I just did what I had to do. And so now I'm playing catch up, and I'm trying to get my momentum back. And getting dressed is a way of helping to get that momentum back after you've had some other event happen in your home. Like maybe you've had Thanksgiving or Christmas. Of course, they're going to ban all those, so we won't have to bother with them, will we? And then they won't let us visit with anybody, so we won't have the family over. We'll be free of all that, won't we? There'll be no more cleanup. And so it is a way, getting dressed and preparing yourself is a way to brace yourself and focus yourself on the job ahead. And I know that a lot of people are reluctant to really dress well in their home. They don't want to ruin their clothes, and they might only have one or two really good outfits, and so they don't really want to wear them in the house. But I would suggest that you do, and I have a reason for that, because I have a little closet full of clothes that I've never worn because they were for special occasions, still saving them for special occasions that won't ever happen, and the Queen is not coming. So I am suggesting you wear all that stuff and wear it out, because if you send it to Goodwill, they're going to charge somebody for it. Why not just keep it and wear it out? And I knew one lady that had a fancy skirt, and it was made of chiffon, and she did not want to give it up, but she wasn't able to wear it anymore, and there was nowhere to go with it, so she just put it over a round table. And you can use them for other things, And she put it like a centerpiece on it, on the waist area, and it looked really cute. I didn't even know what it was till I asked her, "Where did you get this tablecloth?" And I was so shocked. It was a long prom skirt. So, and you'll get these questions, and even in the home, why are you all dressed up? Is somebody coming? Are we going somewhere? No, dear, I'm all dressed up because I care about you and what you have to look at. And it's a special occasion because you're here and we're alive and we're still breathing. And life is such a great gift. So that's why I'm getting dressed up. It's too short to waste. And those of you that have gotten, into the age of 70, like I have, you are thinking, my goodness, where did all the time go? It just went so fast. And I used to use that excuse, that the Slob sisters used when they wrote that book, Sidetracked Home Executives. Why is your house so messy? Well, I just had a baby, 40 years ago. And they had all this list of excuses. And the funniest one was, I just had a baby 40 years ago. And I always feel like it was just, in fact, when my children have their birthdays, I start feeling like I'm in labor. And so the memory is just so clear. It just seems like it just happened. It changed my life so dramatically. And it was such a blessing. And so I'm dressed up because I care about you having to look at me. And I'm going to have a tea party. And I'm just going to have a cup of tea and a scone. So do get dressed, and don't neglect your appearance, and show your gratefulness for being here. So I want to go on now to household management. I think you've had enough of a lecture about your appearance. But I want to go on to household management. And of course, this is going to involve grocery shopping. And because of the stress out there that a lot of homemakers endure, and especially you with little children, go as early as you possibly can before everyone's nerves are stretched to the limit. Everybody in the public, everybody that's running the stores, everybody that's at the door, before their nerves are stretched to the limit and they start to be snappy and it gives you a bad experience. Be the first at the door. Go as early as you possibly can, and get dressed up and go and give them something positive to look at. And if you get any kind of, see, I don't wear a mask, so of course somebody's always going to say something to me, but I am ready now to remind them that the Geneva Convention forbids captors from denying their captives meals and food. So I have to shop for food, and you can't stop me from shopping for food. And it's called torture if you make people's lives so uncertain. You're not even supposed to make the prisoners' lives uncertain. There's supposed to be a schedule, and they're not supposed to be, uprooted in the middle of the night and shouted at. And they have to be treated humanely. And so a lot of these people that are running the stores are the lackeys for the state government when there has been no law passed, and they are guilty of violating the Geneva Convention. But now I have a subject here about getting my momentum back for housekeeping. Now, as you notice, I've moved the camera around because I've got part of this room cleaned up. So now I have the room that I did yesterday, the part that I did yesterday, and you can see it's improving. We're making progress. I wouldn't invite anybody over right now, but I tell you what, it looks like I might be able to get it done today if I can get back from the grocery store. Now, part of the problem with the grocery store is I get in there and follow my list, and then I have to get in a line, and it's like I'm never going to get back. But also, if I feel the tension, and you'll feel it less in the morning when everybody's open, and like I say, their nerves aren't stretched to the limit. So try to get in there and go alone. Don't even take the mister, because there's no point in two of you being upset about the same thing. He's going to go out and get upset about something else, and he has his other things that he needs to face. So if you possibly do it and get in and out in the morning, you're going to be better off. And then you have the rest of the day unbroken for getting your momentum back in the home. That's what I'm working on now, is getting my momentum back. And with me, if there's an event like that, it's 6 steps back and 2 steps forward. And now I'm gaining a little momentum. If I can prevent myself from making messes to cover up my... Now, yesterday what I did was I just cleaned the kitchen, and I waited until I felt rested enough. I don't want to get up there and feel tension and have a backache. So I sat in a chair and I read that book I had shown you called, I believe it was Country Home. And I didn't read it. I just looked at the pictures and until I felt my body relaxed. And then I got up and did that other load of dishes, and they cleaned up the whole kitchen. And it seemed like the rest of the house was so much easier to put in order once that kitchen was behind me. So remember that life is precious and every minute is gold. And God gives us time to do all these things as long as we are breathing. And as long as we're alive, we can do our duty. So there's no reason to lose hope. So in the home, so far, they're not controlling us in the home. So you have your own schedule. You can rearrange it. You can do as you like. You can put out some kind of finishing touch afterwards to everything. You are not relegated to the dullness that the world has out there or to their unpleasant rules. You know, shopping used to be so pleasant. It used to be cheerful. You'd come home excited and cheered up about what you saw and the possibilities of what you could do with your cooking, or just maybe just enjoying seeing the variety of products there were and the possibilities of all the things that you could do. And even at the fabric store, you had such an eye for, oh, this looks like, this gives me the feeling of, or this I like this because of a memory. Well, now you can't even do that because they come over the loudspeaker and they say, loitering is strictly prohibited. And I said to somebody once at Walmart when I heard that, there was one of the employees was walking past, and I said, is loitering strictly prohibited? Well, that just ruins it for me, because I used to come here for my break, and just loiter, just walk around, look at everything. And what they were doing was counting the customers, and then only a certain amount were let in, and they didn't want you to dally. But I told this guy, I'm really sad about the loitering, because I used to come here for a break. I used to come here for my afternoon break and just walk around. And he laughed. But I don't think that that is applying so much anymore. But what I'm saying is it used to be enjoyable, because our free enterprise system made it possible for us to really enjoy going and procuring our food and going to the variety of places we could go and having choices and getting the best and looking at what there was out there. It also gave you a break from your home because everybody needs a little variety. And now they've made it so that it's so miserable. And the homemaker, if you don't go out early, you can come back so rattled you can't focus. You really can't get your momentum back. You can't focus on your home. You just come home and you just feel like, I don't ever want to go out there again. So if you have to go, try to go early before you start getting, this is the thing, I don't wear a mask. I can't wear a mask because of health reasons, because they make me very, very sick. And if you go early, there's nobody there to chastise you or give you the evil eye, and you don't feel it. But if you go too late, then everybody is at you because you're not wearing a mask, or they don't even like the veil. But and there's all these rude comments going on, but in the morning, not so much. So even if you are wearing a mask, I would say as a mother and a homemaker, go early and get out of there as quick as you can. So in getting your momentum back, you have to realize that every minute is gold, and that keeps you from falling into despair. Remember the scripture I read to you just a while ago? This just applies to homemaking, I think. And goodness sake, I think it was 1 Corinthians 4. Well, I can't find it right now. I had it all marked up in yellow. And they say that a Bible well read is one that's worn out. And I haven't worn this one out yet. We are afflicted in every way. That's how you feel, isn't it? But not crushed. So you just have to look around and say, wait a minute, what is changed? Nothing. Nothing in your home, except maybe your mind is changed. And that's one thing we'll talk about. So what you should do, and what I think you should do, everybody has a choice. Everybody does it their own way. But you can get your moments back. You can get your momentum back if you'll get that kitchen cleaned up. To me, it's a priority because it has the most bacteria in it. You want to always keep that clean. And then, of course, the next step would be your laundry and your bathroom. And this is what I'm going to do because then I'm prepared if someone should have to walk in or someone needs to use one of those rooms and there's not food laying around and there's nothing. And then the next thing would be sweeping. And then the next thing would be to go into the different rooms and put them in order. So whatever method that you use, a list always helps. I get up and I write a list, and it starts out with preparation, P-R-E-P. I write that, and I know that what that means. It means go into the bathroom and prepare. Get ready to face the day. Don't start doing your housework in your slippers and your pajamas. Because I used to do that, when I was really young, and you probably could get away with it if you're very young. But when you're elderly, like I am, you tend to look worse and feel worse when you do that. And a little preparation helps so much more. I used to do all that and do all this work, and then by 4 o'clock I was ready to take a shower and get dressed up and have dinner. But I don't do that anymore. I want that day ahead of me to be good. So I'll start with my appearance and then the kitchen. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about people, because I've done the appearance, I've done the homemaking section that I wanted to talk about. And what I'll do with homemaking, just to go back for a little bit, is say that the ordinary things that you do, your daily work, you do your kitchen, and then you do your dishes, and then you go do the bathroom, then you sweep the floors, then you hang out the laundry, and you've got this routine that maybe you follow almost every day. But what I do is I add one extra thing to that so that I can dig myself out of something, like clean a bookshelf. I will just take maybe 4 or 5 books out. Never unload a bookshelf completely. It will take you months to get it all back in. So I just get 2 or 3 books out, dust them off, look at them, clean that little corner that they were in, and sometimes I'm going to have to put them aside because they're not in the right place. And so, or just one extra thing, like open a drawer and clean it out. Open something maybe in the kitchen and clean it out so that you do one extra thing a day. I know that's not always possible. You will not always feel well. You will not always have the energy. But when you do, that you can add that one extra thing. Now we're going to get into working with people and dealing with people. And of course, for a lot of you, you're dealing with the media. Now the media is going to destroy your spiritual optimism if you listen to it. And the first thing I like to ask you when you say something like, oh, I'm so discouraged. What's going to happen to us? Oh, I heard this and I heard that. And I heard that churches aren't going to be allowed to sing. I will ask you the question, where did you hear it, watch it, see it, read it? Okay? And if it is the news media, it is not legitimate. Okay? Did you actually hear it? Was it your minister's idea? Was it one of the Christians' idea to do that? Was it anything on anything? Where did you hear it? Where did you read it? Where did you see it? And then if you did, read it over carefully, because it's possibly not even a law. And as I have said regarding any of these restrictions, there still have been no laws passed. And I told you that if it's a ruling, it's only limited to a certain number of days. Some states 30 days, some states 2 weeks, some states 20 days. Check that out if you want to, but don't let it worry you. If you heard it from someone you know that is actually experiencing something and has said it, that would be a little different. But when you hear it from the media, they have become notoriously careless in reporting, and you cannot trust it. So the first thing to do, the first thing that a totalitarian government will do is shut down the churches. So we knew that wasn't right. You know, when we in homeschool, we had a book, Old World History and Geography, New World History and Geography, where side by side they showed the difference between freedom and communism, or freedom and totalitarianism. And so we recognized it right away. Now, a lot of people didn't, but we recognized right away that that was wrong, because the Bible says that we're not to neglect the assembling of ourselves together. And so we kept going. And sometimes you women are going to have to be the strong one in the family. A lot of men, of course, are afraid of losing their living, losing their jobs, and cannot take a stand because of that. But so the women are going to have to be the strong ones and realize that a lot of this is exaggerated in order to control. This is no longer about an emergency or a disease. It's about control. It's starting to be more about control. And the first thing that a totalitarian government will do is shut down churches. Then the next thing they will do is remove historical landmarks. And isn't there a Bible verse? I'm trying to think. Is it in Habakkuk or something? I may be wrong. Do not remove the ancient landmarks that your fathers have set. You know why? Because when they traveled in the Old Testament and they'd come across a landmark, it might be just a stone or a rock, but it had something written on it, and it was to remind God's people of some event or some thing that He had done for them, or some other thing, and or a person, and it was to remind them. And so when the enemies would come along and remove things, then the people didn't remember them. And so, but that was in the old days. And today we can have it in the textbooks, and we can have our history. But it'd be like removing the ancient landmarks, removing all our statues, removing all of our reminders and our friezes and things on the sides of buildings, and even the eagle and the things that have symbolism to us. Would be like walking into my house and going through my picture albums that I have kept all these years from the time that children were born until a certain era, and just removing them. To wipe out my history and to pretend it never happened. So someone could easily come in and say, well, you never had any children. I don't see any evidence that you ever had any children. Maybe they'd come in and remove all those antique toys that I have kept, and they'll say, well, you're lying. There's no such thing. And see, this is why they removed the ancient landmark. So the lesson that went with the landmark and the history of the person or the horse or whatever it was they were putting there, or the significance where something had taken place is being taken out. So you're not supposed to remove the ancient landmarks, but I'm happy to say we are all going to be turning things around pretty soon. So as I said before, we'll do it in a better way, and we will do it. We haven't even reached our, we were kind of at ease in Zion before all this because we were happy with the way things were, but now we're using our talents and our abilities and our thinking skills so much more keenly than before. It's like I said, the fireworks in everybody's yard and the church singing outside or walking on the sidewalks, the parades going up and down the neighborhoods. It's so much better. So we're going to be doing it better, and so we're turning things around. So bad news, where did you hear it or see it? Was it the media? Look around you. Has anything changed? Is your car still in the driveway? Are you still living in your house? Is there a little bit of food in your fridge, at least for the next few meals? And do you have a little money in the bank? Just a little bit? And are your children still your children? Is your family still there? Your family? And do you remember there was a scripture? One, I will tell you without even being a prophet what they're going to do next. They're going to forbid for people to get married, and they're going to forbid them to eat meat. Remember, there was a scripture that talked about that these false teachers would come along and say that forbidding to marry and commanding to abstain from meats. And of course, there were all kinds of different interpretations of who that would be and how it would be done. But you can see the state doing it because they've already spread the rumor that our meat is going to be no good, and stopped the meat cutters and tried to stop that industry, although that's been corrected. And then you're not allowed to have weddings. You're not allowed to. In fact, I don't even think the state wants you to get married in your home. And I know a couple that can't even see each other because they live in different states, and they're not allowed to travel over the border. Well, the Constitution guarantees us the right to travel freely within our own country from state to state. You don't even have to have passports. You can go from state to state without a passport because it's the United States. Even though each one has a separate government and a separate governor, we are not allowed to cut our state off from each other. So all of this is just the totalitarian globalist government making one last push for control, but it isn't going to work. And those of you who are unsure of it, you need to exercise your freedom. And to exercise your freedom, you need to do things like go to the grocery store, make dinner, clean your house. What freedom that you have, use it and exercise it. If you sit there lamely and let them shut you down, then you're going to lose your freedom. But if you take your freedom, they can't restrict you. So go ahead and clean up your house, get dressed, clean up your house, be happy. Don't slump into to a depression, and live better than you ever have before. Write a story, write a book, do something that you've always wanted to do, and do it better. And don't wait for the opportunity. Just create the opportunity. Are you wanting to change your house? Are you wanting to repaint it? Are you wanting to do something at home? Wanting to teach your children something? Are you really wanting a vacation? You can do it, and you can create it in your home, because that's where you rule. And so it's really inconsistent what is going on. And this is how I can tell there's something fishy about the whole thing, the shutdown and everything, is that why was the mail never shut down? Don't you realize people, when they write a letter, they're breathing on it and they're touching it and they're sending it out? I mean, why aren't they banning mail? Packages and letters get through. Even you can order something and it comes to the door. Well, somebody had to pack that. Somebody had to seal it, and then the postal carrier brings it up to my door and puts it on my doorstep with his hands. And so, why wasn't that all shut down? Well, the mail wasn't shut down. The trucking was not shut down. That's shipping. That was not shut down. You go anywhere, and if you're on a freeway, you're right in the middle, and there's a big truck on one side and a big truck on the other. So that's still going on. The farming never quit. Things are going by all the time, loaded with food and vegetables and grains, and the livestock going down the road all the time. That just kept going. So really, there is no shutdown. It's a political shutdown. Because really, if you wanted to shut things down, you'd have to go back to the way they did it in the 1930s, was they just paid the farmers to plow their crop back in. And then there was mass starvation. And then there was control. And that reminds me of the 1930s. I wasn't there. I'm not that old. But my parents lived through it. And they said one of the things that happened was that during the era of Herbert Hoover, now my parents talked a little bit about this. Well, I heard them talking to other people about it, and I've heard other people that were that age talking about it. Herbert Hoover had a really good economy. He was a president. You never hear about him. He was a president, had a really good economy, but he was very, very anti-communist. And so there was embedded, since 1913, there's been embedded in our states, different states, people who are pro-communist. They're Marxists. And I'll tell you a little bit about Marx sometime, too. They believe that they don't really believe the stuff that they spout, but they want to control people. And they came along, and Herbert Hoover was preventing communism from making inroads in American government and in American industry and in Hollywood. And so what these people did, they had money, and they created a depression, and they were managing the money, and they created a depression, and said it was his fault. And so people were standing in line for food, and they shut the farming down. You know, that's where you really hurt people. You shut the source off, the farming and the shipping and that sort of thing. They shut the farming down. Now you know you're in trouble. And so then, to make matters worse, these same people hired rioters to come in and disturb the cities and disturb the peace everywhere. So President Hoover called in the military. Well, what else would you do? I mean, you're a president, you should do something. So he called in the military to restore order. So the newspapers plastered him and said that he was a dictator, and they spread that far and wide. The newspapers, the media, they were really, really rabid and spread that he was a dictator. And they did all kinds of cartoons and caricatures of him, and he did what he was supposed to do, but he didn't win the next election. He only lasted 4 years. And there were several other presidents that did that. And so what we're seeing today is they're Herbert Hoovering us all. And Herbert Hoovering our president, too. So what I want to say about the phone. Goodness, I don't have my cell phone with me, But just pretend I do. Have my cell phone with me, and you can, when you're going out, if you have to go out, now basically we can stay in, isn't it wonderful? But what I would say is, you go out early in the morning, get it out of the way, then you have the whole day till midnight all to yourself, and no one's going to bother you, and you can clean that house, you can shine the windows, you can do so much. But the phone, when you're out and people are going to make a rude remark to you, or they're being sharp with you because, you know, it's just a hard time for everyone. These are troubled times. And they're making remarks. Keep your mouth shut and your voice low. And use your phone as a shield. You pick your phone up and say, would you like me to make a movie of you saying that? This would look great on my YouTube channel. They will back off and shut their mouth right away. They don't want to be identified, and they don't want on there. So if they're giving you a hard time, I don't even know how to make a video on my phone, but I could say it. I could just hold it up and say, well, I could get your picture, and maybe you could speak into the phone here so that I could record it, so I know what you actually said. It's, you know, I don't want to gossip or anything, and then I'll put it on YouTube. Would that be okay? And they don't want to do that. So if they're threatening you or they're saying something rude, the phone is a better weapon than anything. I mean, who needs a gun when you have a phone? One of those, a smartphone, especially if you've got one of those. So what people want to do, and this happens too in the home, without any crisis going on, you may get some people in the home that want to discourage you. So here's the thing: keep your mouth shut and your voice low, and offer to record it. And so the first thing that they want to do, first thing you want to do is look around and see, has anything changed? I'm still here. I've still got my job. I've still got my responsibility. Why am I upset at the threat of what someone is saying? They might just tell you you're no good, or that this is a crummy place and they can't stand it, or that or they might have a list of all the things you've ever done that is wrong. But you look around and you say, hey, nothing's changed. I still need to fold those clothes. I still need to wash the dishes. I still need to, and it's so much fun to hand them something and say, hey, could you put this away for me? Right in the middle of a tirade, if there happens to be someone who's decided they're going to mouth off. And so keep your mouth shut, your voice low, and they have to dissolve your courage. They want to destroy your confidence, because nobody can actually destroy you. They can't destroy your work. They can't destroy you. So what they do is they work on your confidence. Make her feel so bad that she can't get up and get anything done, because she's so demoralized. So they will do that first, but actually nothing has changed. So watch about that. And when someone can't reason with you, now I'm talking about maybe out in the public, someone wants to start an argument or make a smart remark to you when you're just minding your own business, and they might sound like they're attacking you. And so maybe you'll answer very logically, and you'll say, well, I had to come out. I can't stay home all the time. I had to come out because I've got to get food for my family. And they'll, instead of speaking back to you about the logic of that, they will say, well, you just think everything's a conspiracy theory. You see, they can't really argue back or discuss anything with you on a logical basis. They have to accuse, and they have to attack. And anyone that does that, anyone that makes a rude remark, attacks, or accuses you, really doesn't have a logical argument. They really don't have anything to say, so they just attack. So just remember that when you feel like you've been demoralized and you can't seem to get going in your house. And of course, the news media is the worst for demoralizing. If you're listening to that, if you're looking at that, put something else on. Like, there are some very romantic home videos, gardening videos that you could listen to while you work, or if you have a little break, sit down and watch the gardening videos. See what people are doing with their little plot of land or their big plot of land, and get some ideas. Or if you're not interested in that, there's so many other interests that you might have. I like to look at house designs and architecture, and I like to look at how different houses are shaped and how they're built, and through the different eras. So I'll go to the historical parts and look at that. And I'm interested in the historical homes in different cities, but I like some of the new ideas too. And these things are not using your mind and manipulating you, and they aren't demoralizing you. So I wanted to tell you about that. And now, before I give you your refinement assignment, I want to talk a little bit about something quite unpleasant. And then I have 2 more things after that. So this will be just about an hour. So I hope it's been pleasant so far. I've tried to smile while I've said it, even though it's not all good news. But from church experience, I've been a preacher's wife. I would say, I can't count the years. It's nearly 50 years. And I have learned a lot from the wolves that come in, wolves, people that devour, people that are looking for somebody to attack. They come into a church, and they see churches as vulnerable and lacking, any kind of hierarchy or something. They just see it as an easy mark. And learning from that, has made me see a lot of things. For one thing, in a church that's doing okay and it's built up and people are happy and there's lots of interaction between people. Mainly, there's no trouble. I mean, not much. No, not anything serious, And they're learning and they love the Bible and they're studying the Bible and they're eager for the truth and for the Word. And then here comes a couple of wolves. And it's very interesting to see that they want to take over and they want to destroy, and they have to divide people. So they'll get to talking in a corner over here and get some of them siphoned off and get them suspicious of the other ones, and they'll start speaking false doctrine. They'll find something that we believe strongly and divide right there, try to speak false doctrine, and it'll be over some little thing that doesn't really matter, but they'll make out like it really does. And I could give you some examples, but I don't want to give you any ideas. And it was very interesting that, and over the years, we've seen this happen several times, and so I began to see a pattern. And one thing is these wolves never ever see these churches that are doing well were started by a preacher or a family or somebody that really had a vision to have the church in that community or in that area and wanted to have a church there, so congregation there, so they began to meet and invite other people, and pretty soon more came, and it got more established. And they worked hard, and they were faithful, and some of these preachers never even took a vacation over the years because they were wanting to keep the momentum up and keep these little churches, these fledgling little churches, enthusiastic and growing and going and making sure that they were faithful and that they would be there every Lord's Day. And so they sacrificed a lot, and so did their families, and I can attest to this too. And so they worked hard, and then maybe they went somewhere else or died, and another person came along and built up on that previous work and worked and got a pretty strong congregation where people were very well educated in the Bible and very faithful and to coming and meeting and assembling. And then the wolf comes along and divides it all up and takes over, or gets rid of the leaders and the elders and the preachers and gets rid of them, somehow gets the congregation to agree to get rid of them, and then the wolf takes over this. Well, here's what I noticed over the years with this situation happening, and they're very good at doing it in different ways, but it's the same thing. They never start their own congregation. They don't have the strength or the will or the determination to go into a place cold, start meeting in their home, have a congregation started, invite other people, keep it going faithfully, stay with it 20 years. They wait until someone else has done all that work and some preacher has laid down his life for 20 years keeping a congregation going and helping them and feeding the flock. They'll wait and what someone else has built up, then they'll go in and tear it down. See, the reason I say that is they will go in and say that they don't like it, that this is done this way, and they wish that it were done that way, and they think this is more scriptural. Why didn't they start a congregation and do it the way they wanted it? And maybe somebody that has similar beliefs and start that. No, they go into a congregation and they mess it up that's already been built. Well, this is the way the Marxists are too. Have you ever seen, now Karl Marx, interesting, I can't give you his dates. I assume he's Victorian. He's in our old world history and geography, and those of you who know something about him, please leave a comment. He was one of the bad Victorians. And see, I told you, not all Victorians were good. For those of you who think that I'm really whacked out because I like some things in the Victorian era. Well, he didn't actually believe in communism. He wrote the theory of communism, but actually he didn't live it and he didn't believe it. Because if he really, really believed in equality, total equality, why didn't he go live with the farmers? Why didn't he go live with the peasants and live like they did? And why didn't he go and endure life? Why don't these Marxists ever go to a barren wilderness or a parched desert and start a city? I mean, like Las Vegas and Reno. We used to drive through there back in the I remember the 1960s, 1970s, and it was nothing but a hole in the ground. Who would want to live there? Just a dry desert. But over time, people figured out how to get water, how to cultivate, and the city is so big, it takes you hours to drive through it. And both of those places, I couldn't believe it. Uh, but that's just an example of, people with fortitude and determination, how they can take a dry parched land and make it into something. But then it becomes a target for someone like the Marxists. Now, Karl Marx lived high on I guess it was his friend's father's money, and let his family live in squalor in London while he sat in a university and talked about how the world should be run. And he didn't actually go and live the life of communism that he was perpetrating on others. Those people really don't believe in that. But what they find, here's what they're finding. Here's what these communists and Marxists are finding, is that it was at an industrial time that the industry was coming on, and there was the cotton mills, and there were the steel mills and other places. So he figured out, well, there's money going on. There's money being exchanged. There's an industry going on. He didn't go to the dry parched areas and start his own land or his company or anything. He went to a place that was built up by other people, and then he figured out how to skim money off of the top by saying, if you don't join our organization, we'll burn your place down. Or if you don't join our organization, and by joining it means you would have to pay fees, and how he could collect a lot of this money. Or so they always go where something's already been built up by somebody else, and they take the money, and or that there's money. They'd never go anywhere that didn't have the money coming on. So this is what these Marxists are doing today, and that is they're not going to go up into the wilderness and command that you stay in your house up there, and command that you wear a mask up there. They're only going to go to a place that's already been created into a fairly livable, tolerant place, and mess that up. So I hope I'm getting my point across. But basically, it is about money. It's about them and their greed. And it really isn't about making everybody equal or communism, because they themselves don't live it. They live on a level above that and watch the rest of us suffer while they skim money off of everything, including foreign aid. And, you always wonder how these people, oh, they're so benevolent, and they have wealth. They've created welfare. Let's put everybody on welfare. And you're thinking, well, how could anybody object to that? Poor people need help. Well, what they do is the welfare is put into place as so much money in a bill that's passed through Congress and signed by the president, and then they skim off the top. The money gets sent to a certain agency, and then the agency sends it back to a bank, and then it just kind of gets laundered until it gets back into the pockets of some of these Marxists that are actually senators and representatives and ambassadors and people in government. You wonder how they get so rich. So they'll keep a program like that going that is really not enough for anyone to survive on, but they are taking the lion's share, and that's how they have gotten so rich. And they never start over and establish a new civilization and make it work. They wait till other hardworking people have built it up, and then they come in and skim the money off, and then it all breaks down, and then they complain that it's gone. Kind of like Jonah when the big gourd died, that he was providing shade for him and complained that it was gone. But it's the same in homemaking. You can get people that will discourage you. The media will discourage you, but you can be so discouraged in homemaking, and yet you're the one that has built it all up. You're the one that has kept it clean. You're the one that has preserved the family archives, the pictures, the diaries, the papers of the children's schoolwork. You're the one that has maybe sewn all the clothes and all that, and then somebody comes in and tries to demean you and discourage you. They're not going to go and start their own life and build a home life the way they want it. They're going to try to discourage and run down somebody else. So I hope that has helped a lot for you. See, knowledge, it's unpleasant. But if you are wondering, if you're feeling a little confused, like what happened and why do I feel so discouraged, knowledge is going to help that. It just clears up a lot of things. When you know what people are up to, the knowledge clears that up, and you relax a little bit more, and so you're not always uptight. So when you hear the news, I would advise you not to. If you have to have news, go to X22 Report, or go to this The Healthy American with Peggy Hall, and there were a couple of others that I mentioned some time ago. Black Conservative Patriot was another one, and see what they say, because they will tell you what's going on behind it, and then you think, oh yeah, that's what's going on, and it's not as bothersome, because you realize that once people are on to something that's wrong, they're going to fix it, and they're not going to put up with it. So I'd like to have you do a few things for your assignment today. To leave you on a happy note, I'm going to put a song on, and I'd like you to sing along with it several times while you're washing dishes or while you're doing something and in the home, and until you can sing it by yourself. And then I'd like you to prepare a place, just maybe a little area in your home, just a table, just a little end table, just anything. Prepare a place and go out and get a pretty teacup from Home Goods, if you can possibly do that. Remember, I said early. And so teacher wants you to go get a teacup if you can. If not, get out your best teacup, put it in the place that you prepared, and have yourself a cup of tea and read and look at something pleasant. And the other thing is to practice thinking on the positive side, and the other thing is to pray for someone, just one person. Just pray for someone, or pray for every person in your family. So that was 3 things. It was to prepare a place, get out a pretty teacup, or go get one at Home Goods. I'd really rather you go get one, so you'll have something new. And then, if you don't like it, you can always use it as a gift if you don't feel like you want to keep it. So then send out a card or write a newsletter and pray for someone, or pray for everyone in your family. And so while I'm on the subject of prayer, there's a little girl named Taylee, T-A-Y-L-E-E, and her last name is Fox. And she lives in Tennessee, and she's from a family that are friends of ours that we know personally. They've been out here to see us. I think she's only about 9 years old, but she got hurt. Just something hit her, a stick or something hit her in the arm, and the arm began to swell. And now they're thinking that, and she's had some tests, and they're thinking that she might have something very serious because it didn't get well. And so the grandmother, of course, is just a real wonderful Christian woman, but she's having a very hard time with this, and we're hoping that God will heal this girl. And her name is Taylee Fox. If you've got a time and you want to include that, you can. But of course, you need to pray for your own family. Make sure that you do that. So ladies, I hope this hasn't been too tedious or depressing. I hope that that I'll leave you on a happy note, because once you have knowledge, this is not going to be as troubling to you, this situation, because we are going to have the victory. And remember, yesterday I read to you, thanks be to God who gives us the victory. And so we are afflicted in every way, but not crushed. They're not going to crush me. And we are perplexed, but not driven to despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. Always carrying in the body the death of the Lord Jesus, that the life of the Lord Jesus may also be manifested in our bodies. Well, when you carry about the death of the Lord Jesus, you're thinking of his sacrifice on the cross. Has anybody thought that Christ's life mattered, or that Christians' lives mattered? Christ's life mattered. Did anyone have a fit because of the unjust way in which Christ was sacrificed and crucified and put on the cross? Always carrying in the body. It means always carrying in the body the suffering of the Lord Jesus. But just because we're willing to suffer does not mean that the state has the right to put us to unjust suffering for no reason. And so, ladies, I hope you have a wonderful day. And that was from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 through 10. Okay? So you might want to write that in your notebook, and I will try to include all of these things that I've said in a list at the end for your refinement assignments. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.